Nhl Dfs strategy show. We have 8 games to discuss for tonight. Started at 9, we're down to 8. Not COVID related, weather related this time. So that is the good news, I guess. I'm joined by my Monday partner, Terry McBride, T McB, who's been a very busy man lately. New role at the company. Did an NBA show earlier today, and now jumping on the NHL show. Just you're the Marwin Gonzalez of Awesemo.com. I called Josh. I really like it. So you take that as a compliment, right?
I'll take it, man. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a utility player, move around the field, hit some home runs, get some base hits, be reliable. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah, how you long doing, career. Yeah, you're in the infancy of a long career, I guess. So
there you go.
That's the good news. How did the All-Star break go for you? Dabbling into a little bit more of NHL DFS. Did you have any success there?
Yeah, it was a couple successful nights. Nothing crazy. I had some just limited sets of lineups, so I would throw in 20 lineups here. I think the highest I went was 50, and I think that was the night I didn't come out ahead, but did pretty well. It was fun being able to play some NHL DFS instead of just talking about it, get a little bit bigger of a slate going. A lot of nights I'm just throwing in 2-3 lineups so I can manage it at the same time as I'm doing all my swaps for the other stuff, the other sports, and being on other sports shows and everything. But yeah, it was a blast. How about you? How's things had?
They have not been great. I was telling some of my online friends that I'm playing like the least confident that I have so far, like heading into the NBA All-Star break. And I was close a couple times recently, so feeling a little bit better. At least I was until I saw this. I don't know if you were in Slack before, right before we jumped on, but people were talking some smack about my boy Taylor Hall, telling him he's trash, just disgusting slander from Taylor Hall there. So I'll try to ignore those as they come through. But yeah, that will not be tolerated. You will be put on timeout. I've got admin duties on YouTube, so watch your Taylor Hall takes. I don't want to hear it. I'm sure you've got players like that. I'm sure that you're very loyal to that have made you a bunch of money in DFS.
Oh, right? Of course. Absolutely. And most of them, it's usually players that are just god awful in most situations. Not that I'm saying that about your boy Taylor Hall, of course, but for me, I just get attached to these just generally awful players who typically burn me. But because they came through once for me in like 2017, I'll continue rolling them out there. So I feel you.
Oh yeah, we also had a discussion about Chandler Stevenson, so we'll get to some awful players. Actually, I think that's the last game of the night. Now that we're done with Blues Kings. If anybody missed that news, I will just let you guys know it is canceled. Blues and Kings. Kings couldn't get out of Denver last night, so just another in a long line of makeup games this season. They'll have one that is not COVID related, so a little bit of a change of pace there, but. They'll get that one in at some point, but we're down to 8 games. And just right off the bat, I want to make sure we talk about our pretty new sponsor. It's about a week old, but still in the honeymoon stage with the NHL DFS strategy show. Our new sponsor, JockMKT. They've turned daily fantasy sports into a stock exchange. You can buy and sell shares of players in real time with real money and guaranteed payouts at the end of the night. I know Tyler, he's not producing today. Chris is producing today, but I know Tyler has been playing a lot on JockMKT and being pretty successful over there. So that's good to see. You guys should all go over there. And it's a new promo code today that is exclusive to the Awesemo community. So if you're watching this, you get a special promo. It is Awesemo20. So it was Awesemo NHL 50. Now the promo code is Awesemo20, and that's a $20 bonus on your first deposit. So if you missed out on the $50 last week, you've got Awesemo20 for a $20 bonus on your first deposit. Go use that. We love JockMKT. Thanks for sponsoring us, and hopefully you guys all check them out here pretty soon. More Taylor Hall slander in the chat from some of our favorite trolls. So these guys are just poking some fun right now. I can't believe any of these takes would be serious, calling him a bad player. But you ready to get into this 8-gamer, Terry? Feels like a pretty good one.
Should be fun. Yeah, it's a really good slate. I really like just, there's a lot of good plays, a lot of good players. I think there's some definitely good spots to jump into here, so I'm psyched.
Yeah, I usually go through and just like write down any line that I'm interested in, which is usually a lot of them for an 8-game slate, but it felt like an abnormally large amount of lines that I think are reasonable today, even when you take out that 9th game. So really good MME slate. There will be some single entry talk and some 3 max talk, I'm sure, from Terry, running a few less lineups. But I think overall a really, really good slate. So let's start with the Flyers and your Rangers. 3.1 implied total for the Flyers, 2.9 for the Rangers. It's Carter Hart against Keith Kincaid. I saw some talk about the people having interest in the Rangers. I'm seeing ownership pretty high for this top line. I'm a little worried that they're going to go into Couturier, Van Riemsdyk, and Farabee, which has been a pretty good 5-on-5 line. But the price is pretty low. Zibanejad down to 5,300. Kreider and Pavel Buchnevich both under 6K as well. So very affordable line 1 here for the Rangers. What are you doing with the ownership here, though?
Yeah, it's tricky. They're highly owned. Like you said, the prices are down, which I think is, a big part of why they're getting that attention. And I think a lot of the rest of it is just memory from last year of what they were. They were a dynamite combination last year, and just, helped a lot of people win a good amount of money. Going back to the start of last year, that combination over 397 minutes, 51.99% Corsi for percentage, 24-12 goals for advantage with a 53.26% expected goals for advantage. 80-73 in high danger chances and 14-8 in high danger goals. But this year, only 114 minutes together, 49.75 below average Corsi for percentage, only 6-2 in goals advantage, 51.61 expected goals for percentage, 15-18 trailing in high danger chances, only converted twice and allowed 1. So they're not the line they were, at least not yet, or they haven't been. That's why they're priced down. So it does make sense, maybe take advantage of the low prices, but you're walking right into a ton of ownership with them. So I think it makes sense to get them. I think, looking at the top stacks tool, they are in the top 5, but they're one of the lower out of the high-end lines. You're saving money getting there, but you're eating leverage. So it's a tricky spot. I think if they make other things work, if you can get to them along with another highly ranked line that might not be so quite so owned, I think that makes sense as a combination. Try and combine them with something that's going to be a little bit further off the beaten path if you're going to them. I definitely think they're in play on both sides, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely in play. I don't want to make it seem like I'm not going to get to Rangers 1. I certainly will get to some of them, but I like the power play stack, I think, a little bit better. Something like Zibanejad, Kreider, and Panarin. I really worry about this line at 5-on-5 Rangers 1. Especially going up against Couturier. Zibanejad usually takes top competition when they're on home ice. So I think if I'm full stacking a line, and especially at the ownership, if I could only play one of them, I think I would play Rangers 2 with Panarin back. He came back over the weekend. Really weird situation that we don't have to get into with him. But he's back with Strome and Colin Blackwell. Blackwell 3,100. Going to be left off of a lot. I think you can throw them in there for that price, and just going to get some softer matchups against the Hayes line and the Giroux line, not going into the defensive juggernaut Philadelphia 1. So I like Rangers 2 a little bit. I think I don't mind going down to Giroux, Voracek, and Nolan Patrick. Looks like they're not getting much ownership at all. Technically, that's Philly 3 on my screen, but I would think of them more as a second line tonight. Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at is Rangers 2, Philly 3. Not crazy about Philly 1. I mean, this is Zibanejad for, not generating a lot of scoring chances themselves. They aren't giving up a ton either. So I'm hoping those two kind of neutralize each other, Philly 1, Rangers 1, and you can pick up some scoring from these depth lines on either side. Is there anything on the blue line that sticks out to you here?
On the blue line, we can definitely look to Fox, particularly if we're going to those power play stacks, like you mentioned from the Rangers. Again, though, you're eating a pretty good amount of ownership, big time on FanDuel, where he's only 4,800, kind of a misprice there. He's more expensive on DK, so you're getting less ownership. And then I think you can look to Keandre Miller, especially if you're maybe looking into the second power play unit stack where you get Kakko, Lafreniere, and Buchnevich. Put him in there with those guys. That's a dynamic little unit that won't be crazy owned, and you get some good players in there. A couple young kids, that you have to rely on some of the apparent upside that they have. They haven't exactly delivered on it. Miller's probably been the best of the trio out of those guys. Booch, we know, is kind of a known commodity, but I think there's something there, and that also plays in. I think there's a little something maybe for off the board dart throw of a line 3 for the Rangers. It's basically the kids, Philip Hadel, Alexi Lafreniere, and Capo Caco playing together. The three of them are high-end players, can get things done, have not done it together, have not done it to this point, really. Lafreniere is leading that line with 4 goals on the year. Hadel's got 3 in limited time. Caco's only got 2 and had a rough rookie year last year. But I think there's something to that mix, and I think the coach would like to see them come together. So Quinn rolling those guys out there together, I think, is somewhat interesting. Totally with you on Philly 3. I had highlighted that line as a maybe a little bit of a sleeper line. Just they make some interesting things happen. Only 48-58 overall together this year, but 13-6 in high danger chances, 3-1 high danger goals. So make some interesting chances happen, and pretty good puck possession numbers as well.
Yeah, I don't mind taking some stabs at Rangers 3 either. So handful of lines to like in this game. Pretty even total on both sides, and then I don't mind throwing in either of the power play 2 guys for the Rangers. Fox goes with either of the top 2 lines. But if you're one-offing Miller and Trouba, I think both reasonably priced, not going to get a ton of ownership on either of those guys. And, both as one-offs, 3,100, 4,200. I like those guys in that spot, especially Trouba. I think could be a spot where he blocks a bunch of shots. 3 block bonus on DraftKings, especially valuable for a guy like that. All right, let's get to, and we don't have a confirmed starting goalie for the Rangers, at least that I'm seeing. I think it's going to be Kincaid. So
it probably will.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, they're sour on Georgiev already, which is a nice lesson that I thought they had learned in the Cam Talbot situation a few years back. When you have a hot second string goalie, trade him if people want him. He can usually go pop the next year, and that's exactly what happened to Georgiev. So Shesterkin can't get back quick enough for my Rangers.
Yeah. Let's go to the Bruins and the Penguins. It is a 2.8 implied total for the Bruins, 2.7 for the Penguins. Halak and Jari are your expected goalies. You've got 2 teams with a lot of star power. Got the Boston 1 line. You got Crosby, Malkin. Crosby plays on that really good top line that's fully correlated, but they're pretty expensive. They're going to see a lot of Boston 1. Are you willing to go to Pitt 1 at low ownership here, Terry?
So I think the ownership is probably the key to that question. Anytime you can get to star caliber players, I don't care what the sport is really. If you can get to a unit of star caliber players that have tight correlation like that, have significant upside at low ownership, even in a tough spot, a tough game against a very good team. Boston, just as a team, 52.57% Corsi for percentage, excellent on the puck, 91.7 team save percentage. So just very, very high end team. But I think it makes sense. You can get away from some ownership on FanDuel. They're up around 10 each as a line, but they're under 5 on DK. So I think we can definitely get there, and you know what you're walking into. So you're doing it eyes open that you're paying a lot to take a very good line against a very good team. But when other people aren't getting to players like that, I think it makes a lot of sense to look at them.
Yeah, I think if they weren't very good at 5-on-5 or they were just average, I'd probably be looking the other way on Pitt 1. But at this ownership, under 5%, I mean, it makes sense because of the low total. I am willing to get to 5% or maybe a little bit more of Pitt 1 just because of how much I respect them. And then you mentioned the full power play correlation. So yes, they're the 3rd highest priced line on DraftKings right now. But they're not as expensive as Boston 1 on the other side. 24-4 for Boston 1 on DK. And that's one where, you need them to go completely nuts. And they're going to be low owned. But, man, they literally need to be the highest owned, the highest scoring line of the night. And with the matchup against Pitt 1, I think that's going to be really, really tough. At least at 5-on-5, maybe they could get there. I'll never doubt them. But even at low ownership, I'm having a hard time getting to Boston 1 here. I'd much more like to go to some Pitt 1, and then Pitt 2 was coming up as somewhat of a value for me. Rodriguez 2,700, Kapanen at 4K, and then Malkin still cheap at 5,500. But they're going to also get a tough matchup against the 2nd and 3rd lines for the Bruins. Really deep team, so I'll probably just stick to mostly Pitt 1 in this game. I think this one does have a wide range of outcomes just because of the immense talent on both sides. It could be a wide open game. It could be more of a grinded out style game as well. But Pitt 1, and that's really all I've got for this one here. Anything else you want to add?
I think, maybe if you wanted to look into the power play lines just to, try and get it a little different, but they're fully correlated top lines, top power play units. So that would basically be talking about maybe working in one of the blue liners. So Grizzlock on the Boston side of things, not very highly owned. And on FanDuel anyway, 3,900, on DK 4,600. So he fits in with the top line. You can snap him in there if you can figure out a way to afford it on DK. On FanDuel, I think he makes a ton of sense, and only getting 3% ownership. So I think that makes some sense. Letang on the other side of things joins that unit, but he's also very highly owned. So it doesn't work quite as well as a differentiator on the pit side of things.
Yeah, I haven't played much Letang at all, even though it feels like I've been on pit one like every single night. But I mean, Letang he's fine. He's a fine add-in, but he's always priced at like $500-$600 more than probably should. So I rarely get to him as a one-off. We just got an ownership update. If you heard that little click from my Slack there. So if you guys want to check that out, we have free ownership projections for today only. We unlock a piece of premium content for free each day. We don't have other deals going on. And NHL DFS ownership projections are what we've got for you free today. Nightbot will hook you up with the link if you don't already see that in the YouTube chat. No big changes, but just wanted to point that out as a way to remind myself that we do have unlocked premium content for today. Cliffy said Cody Ceci night, 3K for Ceci. I was going to check to see like where his minutes off the charts or something last game. 20 minutes, 23 minutes the last two games. I mean, yeah, he's probably fine for a top 4 defenseman, 3K, Ceci. I don't know. I'm indifferent to it, but Cliffy says it's Cody Ceci night. So if anybody didn't see that in the Slack, Cliffy's usually pretty good with these cheap defensemen.
Yeah, not going to argue with that. Seeing for the season, 17:53 average ice time, 2 goals, 4 assists on the year, 35 block shots in fewer games than that. How many games have they played? 27 games, so averaging more than a block shot a game. Pretty solid. Totally inexpensive, not owned.
Yeah, no problem with that. You mentioned Grizzlock. I will just move it along there. Man, I can't stand Grizzlock, but with Boston 1, if you are getting there, that's probably your best guy to pair with them if you can afford it. Let's go to the Blackhawks and the Florida Panthers. 2.6 implied total for the Hawks. It is a 3.4 implied total for the Panthers. Kevin Lankinen, Sergei Bobrovsky. Take this one where you would like. I see the Chicago ownership has come down a little bit on my screen. I'm going to look at the ownership projections to make sure that lines up and nothing got changed. And yeah, it looks like Kane, DeBrincat pretty low owned. They've been swapping around this top line. Khrushchev and Pius Suter have both been playing up there a little bit. But what do you like in this one here, Terry?
Yeah, I like those ownership numbers on the Blackhawks top line, specifically the DeBrincat Kane pairing. Whoever's in the middle, that's fine. But the two of them, 700 minutes together going back to the start of last year, 48.23% Corsi for percentage, but a 33-24 goals advantage, 57.89% actual goals for versus a 44.54 expected goals for, though. But that plays into what they've done on the high danger side of things, kind of, which is a 40-48 deficit in high danger chances and a 4-7 high danger goals deficit. So they score, they generate chances. They've been a little bit lucky, but as a pairing, I think we can ride the star power that the two of them bring, especially at fairly low ownership. Decently high prices on FanDuel, a little bit less expensive on DK. I think we can get there a lot, and then go to the full line stack if it's Khrushchev in the middle, or if it's Pius Suter in the middle. Looking at the power play, I think you can maybe rope in one of the cheaper defensemen. They've got Boquist on the power play unit, 3.8 and 3.6 salary across sites. So I think he makes a little bit of sense to maybe work in. And then I think we've had Florida on our slate every single time we've done a show together this year.
Yeah.
And not much has changed. I like Florida 1. I like Florida 2. I think they're two pretty effective lines. They've got Duclair and Verhaeghe skating around Barkov on the top line. 207.51 going back to the start of last year, 61.36% Corsi for percentage, just dominant puck control numbers, 13-6 goals for. That's a 68.42 actual, and they actually have a 69.63 expected goals for percentage advantage. So technically slightly unlucky there. 56-19 high danger chances generated, 8-5 high danger goals scored. So just dominant in generating chances, taking a ton of shots, and dominating the puck. Really like that top line. Second line comes down from those marks, but they're also very effective, very good. So I can get to both of those units. And even the third line with Vetrano, Lusotarainen, and Tippett. I'm going to guess at how to say Itu's name there.
I can't even – his name cuts off on the lineup builder because it's so long. So I usually just give up after, like, LUO. So.
Yeah. So I think we can get to them in, very small degree as a little bit of a dart throw.
Yeah, I actually did write down 4-3 as like a really cheap depth line that I would be considering tonight. So like the call there. I was going to trash the Blackhawks. I was going to assume that they had high ownership, but it looks like they've come down since our first update this morning. Florida's come up. So Florida's still one of my favorite spots on the board. There's always the issue with what do you do with Wenberg. He's usually cheap, but he just doesn't really offer much for DFS. He'll score an occasional goal. But I like playing Barkov with either the full Florida one for Hagee and Duclair. I'm seeing that they don't have power play designations right now. Maybe Duclair gets secondary power play time, but the correlation on the PP for them isn't good. And so hopefully people will leave off one or both of those guys. But you mentioned their numbers at 5-on-5, just so strong. They're going to get the Kane line, Kane to Brinkat, whenever they're out there. I think they're in for some big minutes. I love Duclair back on that line for 3,400. So Florida one of my favorite stacks. And then Florida power play, I would just group them in with Florida one. You could go Barkov with one of his even strength line mates and then one of Huberdeau Hornquist. There's tons of ways to go with them. But as always, I'm going to try to get Barkov in as much as possible. He'll very likely be my highest owned Florida player. Mix in both of Duclair and Verhaeghe. I think I'd feel pretty comfortable with them as one of, if not my highest exposed stacks for tonight. And I just ran a crunch and they were about number 3 for me. So I'm feeling pretty good about Florida. Big total. They've been playing amazing offensively, especially. Goaltending's been a bit spotty. So I don't know that you have to add in Bobrovsky to your Florida stacks. I do worry about the volume he's going to face here. Is he going to get 25, 30 shots at 8,300? I don't really know if Chicago's going to be able to generate a lot of offense. So I'm on Florida. If you want to take some stabs at low-owned Chicago skaters, I actually like the second line, I think, a little bit. Kampf, Hagel, and Kubalik. 4,700. You could two-man 2 out of 3 of those as well. If you don't want to play the full stack, I certainly understand that, but mostly just on Florida here.
Yeah, that second line, they're limited together. They've got like 60 minutes together, but they're 6-0 goals for advantage. 4 of them in high danger situations, 11-9 in high danger chances. So they're interesting. They generate some interesting opportunities, and they've converted on them.
Yeah. Don't mind going to them just for no ownership, low price. I'll take some stabs there. My non-Florida lineups: Ekblad, Yandel, $1,400 difference. They're making you think. DraftKings is like you'd like to play Ekblad, but Yandel's $1,400 cheaper. Salary is a thing. Ownership is a thing. So take whichever one makes sense in your specific Florida lineup. Gustav Forsling up to 3,600. He's been one of our Slack darlings recently, blocking a lot of shots, putting a bunch on net. I still think he's playable for 3,600, but not the slam dunk that we saw him at last week, where he was mid salary for like 2 or 3 games straight. And then Dahan for 3,400. Pretty good block shot spot here for him. Murphy has come down to 4K, so I don't have a problem with Murphy or Dahan, anyone on that second pairing for the Hawks. A lot to like here, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, 65 block shots on the year for Dahan. I just saw that. Yeah. 65 blocks in, 29 games?
He's just a machine. Yeah. So if you want your 3 blocks bonus, he is a great candidate for that tonight.
Good guy.
All right. Are we good there? You got anything else? Any goaltending Lankin in 7,100?
Yeah, if you wanted to go there, I expect Florida to have a pretty dominant game. He'll definitely see some shot volume though, but I think at the price he makes some sense. 917 save percentage on the year, decent goalie. So if you wanted to go that route,
yeah, agreed. More of a one-off guy for me. Or I guess it's fine if you wanted to go expensive DeBrincat Kane with Lankinen as a correlation play. you're going to see the volume, you would think here. So
yeah,
not too bad on DK specifically. All right, let's go to Vancouver and Ottawa. 3.6 implied total for the Canucks, 2.8 for the Sens. It is Thatcher Demko. And then on the Senators side, Matt Murray was supposed to start last night. He went in warmups. He came off early during warmups, which you see every once in a while in the NHL, and then he didn't start. So it was Joey Daccord last night. The coach was pretty vague about what they're going to do tonight, but it sounds like there's a chance Matt Murray plays. Murray is 7,200 on DK. Daccord is 7K, but this is an early start time. This is 7 Eastern, so at least you'll know who's playing. I don't think we're going to be playing a lot of the Ottawa goalie regardless, but it could be Daccord on the back-to-back, and that's why you're seeing the massive total for the Canucks. I don't know if I mentioned it, but 3.6 and 2.8 for the Sens. So Canucks look pretty chalky, but not overly chalky. You interested in them, Terry?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to go to them. There's going to be a good amount of people on them. Like I said, it's not like backbreaking ownership, but they're above 10% across the top two lines, across everybody on both sites. So, well, I'm sorry, Hoglander is 8.7% owned on DK. That's the only guy below 10% on their top two lines. So they're going to be popular, but they're going up against by far the worst defensive team in the league. These are the two worst defensive teams in the league in terms of goals against, actually. And Ottawa is 24 goals worse than Vancouver is. So Ottawa's allowed 124 goals in their 31 games. Vancouver's allowed 100 goals in their 31 games. So really pathetic defensive team. I think we can go to the Vancouver side of things on those top two lines. Just makes some sense to attack this squad. Top line, 203 minutes together, just a 45.43% Corsi for percentage. But again, against this team, I don't think that's going to really matter. 5 to 6 goals for, 47.1% goals, expected goals for. So a little bit of a deficit there. 34 to 33 in high danger chances, 5-5. They play a lot of even hockey at even strength. But I think there's enough talent on that line to overcome a pretty weak defensive team. And we talked about the second line on Vancouver a decent amount with JT Miller and Bozer there. So I think that unit's in play. A little bit better on the Corsi numbers for those guys. A little bit less experience together, so lower goal totals and chances totals though.
Yeah, this is another one worth a lot to like. So I think there's things definitely you could like on the Vancouver side. Ownership, maybe not one of those things that you love here, over 10% for a team that's not great, but pretty good for DFS. If Pettersson were back, I think you'd see really heavy chalk on the Canucks, but JT Miller playing center, you don't have the full PP correlation on the Miller line, but you could easily convince me on a power play stack for the Canucks: Horvat, Miller, Besser, Horvat, Pearson, Besser, Horvat, Pearson, Miller. There's a bunch of combos you could do there. With Quinn Hughes, I've looked at Quinn Hughes's. If you just look at his box score, you're probably going to be pretty turned off. He hasn't. I think he's had like 1 or 2 games over 10 points in his last 12. For 5,300, that's not going to look great, but I think this could be a breakout game for him. He's not a guy that shoots a ton, but I'm thinking he's going to pop off for a multi-point game, at least a multi-assist game at some point here, and this is a great spot for him to do it. You can go either Canucks 1 or Canucks 2 at 5-on-5. The one thing I worry about, and I don't know exactly how the matchups are going to go, but the Norris, Tkachuk, Brown line is pretty solid defensively, especially considering they're on the Ottawa Senators. And so if they're hard matching the Miller line or the Horvat line, I would like to avoid at least the 5-on-5 line there or get under the field on it. I don't know exactly how the matchups are going to go again, but they're pretty good when they're on the ice. And so I actually like going to the Norris, Tkachuk, Brown trio. You're getting Norris and Brown both PP2 minutes. I think Ottawa 3 is going to be a little bit popular tonight, at least for the people in Slack. They love Batherson and Stützle. Tierney centering them, 3,600. He's pretty cheap. But I really prefer Ottawa 1. I'll be stacking them in a lot of my lineups. I'm seeing 5 or 6% ownership on them. I think that is very reasonable despite the low total. So yeah, a lot to like on both sides. If I could only play one line of the Canucks, I think it would be the Miller, Besser, Hoglander trio, but I guess I reserve the right to change my mind by the time we get to lock, if we get some more clarity on the matchups here. But yeah, you got to like Vancouver. It's just that everyone else is going to. So if you look at the top stacks tool, you might want to go elsewhere, or just two-man them. Miller, Besser, two-man, Horvat, Pearson, two-man. There's so many ways to do it on the Canucks side here.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And I think it makes sense, like you said, to go to the Ottawa side of things too. You're talking about, like I started with, the second worst defensive team in terms of goals allowed for the season in Vancouver. You're also, if you go to Ottawa, you're attacking the chalkiest goalie of the night in Thatcher Demko. A ton of people are going to have him in their lineup. So if you're rostering some of these Ottawa lines, you're taking a direct stab at some of that. So it's a nice leverage play there. Mm-hmm. I think there's something to like about Ottawa too as well. They're not popular at all. They're not expensive, and they've done decently in generating chances. 33 to 27 in high danger chances, converted on 6 and only allowed 2. 52.33% expected goals for advantage, 56.80 Corsi for. So I kind of like those guys. I think they play fairly well together. You mentioned the third line on Ottawa is just a little wacky. The last time we talked about him, Batherson was coming in with a six-game goal scoring streak. He did not score after we talked about him for 6 straight games until last night. He scored a goal last night. So tonight will be the test of whether we jinx him or whether we're a benefit to him. I'm not sure which it is yet.
Yeah, we tend to, not you, but me, Cliffy, Josh, tend to jinx people on this show. And the chat is always very nice when we do that the following day. Oh, sure. Very forgiving, not blaming us for anything. But I'm sure there will be a handful of those for the rest of this year. Whenever we trash someone, I don't mind the call on Ottawa too. I'm seeing we don't have an ownership projection for Colin White, but maybe this just needs to resync. But they're getting Paul and Dadenoff are getting some really low ownership, and they've done a good job of carrying play at 5-on-5. Both teams take a ton of penalties. This game could go absolutely berserk. And so I get the ownership, but I think a lot of my lineups are going to have exposure to this game in one way or the other. I think you could go full 5-man power play on the Canucks with Hughes, and you take Horvat, Pearson, Miller, Besser, and hope for the onslaught. There's so many different ways to do it. It's not like a team with only one line and only a couple forwards that you like. There's 2 full lines to like. There's a power play to like on the Vancouver side. So I'm eating the ownership tonight. Unless they come up to like 25-30% by lock, which is not going to happen. Anything else here?
Just to throw another shot at the Senators, 26th in the league, 74% on the penalty kill. So that Vancouver power play gets even more appealing from that.
All right. Before we get to our next game, if you have not yet joined or you just discovered us, welcome. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and you'll know when we go live for NHL. PGA that was on right before us. Got 3 hours of NBA content pretty much every single day, leading you up to lock for sports betting, DFS, whatever your game is. We've got you covered there. So hit the notification bell and you will know when we go live. It also helps us. The best way to help us for free. If you're looking to get a little bit more involved and you have not yet joined, you've never signed up for an Awesemo Plus package, now is the time to do it. We have a celebration for the second half going on. The promo code is Shamrock, and what you're going to get with that is 50% off the Awesemo Plus Platinum Weekly Pass, which means you'll have access to everything on the site, including NBA, PGA, NHL, NASCAR, MMA, soccer, esports, and college basketball projections. We've got March Madness coming up this week, starting on, is that Thursday, or they're playing games tomorrow and Wednesday? I can't remember how it works.
I think the playing games are tomorrow. They might even be tonight. I'm actually not sure. I haven't caught up on the playing games, but I'm psyched for the tournament. It's always so much fun.
Yeah, and if you guys, if you ever need more details on producer Chris making a okay, there you go.
That's different then. Usually it's Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, they couldn't hear producer Chris. So I'm not very professional. I was supposed to just pretend like I was smart and just read that off. But yeah, okay. Games Tuesday, and then the real tournament. Okay, Thursday, Friday is when the real tournament starts. But anyways, this promo is only valid through the 17th, which is Wednesday. So you got to sign up in the next couple days. Again, promo code Shamrock, $15 for the first week of Awesemo Plus access. You get everything, including college basketball projections, which just went behind the paywall right in time. And then free premium content. If you didn't hear earlier, NHL ownership projections are free today. NBA projections are also free. NBA projections from Awesemo himself, as every projection system is on the site. So you know you're getting something that is worthy of your use. And it's free today. So go check it out. Awesemo.com/promos. If you're ever wondering about what we've got going on the site, if you just go to awesemo.com/promo. I think it's promo or promos. Anyways, you guys will figure that out.
Yeah, it's under the social media, the social link on our homepage. You just drop that down, you'll see it right there. It's easy to find.
Let's go to the Caps and the Sabres. 3.7 implied total for the Caps, highest on the slate. 2.4 for the Sabres. Vitek Vanacek and Carter Hutton going for the Sabres. Sabres are depleted. They do have the best player in the NHL, Taylor Hall, but outside of that, they don't really have much to write home about. No Eichel for a while, it sounds like. Skinner getting moved up to the third line stall with Olofsson and Reinhart, which is essentially your second line. Taylor Hall playing with Riley Sheehan and Tage Thompson. It's pretty ugly there. Caps have been playing awesome. Since Tom Wilson got suspended, before he got suspended, they've been pretty impressive. And you've got this top line with Alexander Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, TJ Oshie, that is going to be popular tonight, but I think for good reason. You got a second line that Cliffy has loved the last couple of games, and they've played really well. In addition to that top line, man, a bunch of options here on the Caps. You could probably dip down to the third line as well. No Lars Eller. Actually, I think Lars Eller's he's questionable for tonight. I thought I saw. But anyways, he's listed on the fourth line right now. So not a big worry for tonight's 8-game slate. What do you got in this one here, Terry?
Yeah, so I think, the top line, just an incredible line, just talent-wise. There's going to be a ton of people on them, but I think it's totally justifiable to get to them. They don't cost a ton compared to some of the other top lines. You get a little bit of a discount on Backstrom and Oshie in there. So they're an affordable top unit, and I think you gain a ton by going to them. So I think they're well worth eating the chalk for. 332.52 going back to the start of last year on the ice together, 51.33% Corsi for advantage, 19 to 18 goals for. That's a 51.35% goals for advantage, right on line with their expected goals for. 59 to 54 high danger chances, converted on 10, yielded 7 goals in that situation. I think they're better than even what those numbers at even strength are showing us. So I think there's just so much talent on that line, particularly with Ovechkin, obviously, one of the best players of his generation, if not all time. So I think we can go to that no problem. I like the second line. There's definitely something to go to there with let's see.
Vrana, Sprong.
Yeah. So with Vrana and Kuznetsov together, they've got 473 minutes together going back to the start of last year, and a 32 to 28 goals advantage, 86 to 97 high danger chances. So they have some back and forth, but 21 to 16 in high danger goals. Just make a lot of things happen on that line, and then you throw Sprong into there if you want to fill it out. So I definitely like that. I like Carl Hagelin on the third line there. I don't have their numbers as a unit together, but that's definitely going to be a cheap, low-owned option in attacking a pretty weak defensive team. So I definitely think we can go up and down the Caps lineup against a pretty pathetic Sabres team.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of options to at least consider on the Cap side. The 5-on-5 numbers in terms of expected goals for the Backstrom line haven't been there, but it's just like Buffalo's not a NHL team, at least not a full one right now.
Right.
Like they've got a bunch of fringe guys playing top 9 minutes. Lazar, Middlestat, Riley Sheehan, and he's been a scratch a bunch of times for them. Rasmus Asplund, Kyle Post. Like it's just they don't have a real NHL roster right now. So I'm willing to look past the Washington one bad 5-on-5 numbers. For now, they're electric on the power play with Ovi there, 8,300, probably one of your best one-offs that you could find tonight. Maybe one of the more if not the most popular player on the slate. But I'm getting to as much Washington as the field. I think they should be a priority. Washington 1, that is. And I think it looks like Washington 2 is going a little bit overlooked. Now, they don't have a great chance of being a top 2 stack, but I think they can fill in with some of the higher price stacks, the Edmonton ones. If you wanted to go Washington 1 with Washington 2 and do the full Josh stack, you could do that as well. I noticed that Connor Sheary played a bunch with the Kuznetsov line, and he's also 3,200. So if you see that in pregame skate, this was last game, Sheary played up there some. If you see that in pregame skate, you can just swap them out. They're both the exact same price on DK. So that is nice, but just keep an eye out for that one. Because I love both of the Caps' top 2 lines. Not really going to anything on the Sabres line. It looks like they've got one on the Sabres side. It looks like they've got one line that's reasonable: Stahl, Olofsson, and Reinhart. I don't know.
But even that line kind of sucks.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's just not really a line I'm pumped to play with a 2.4 implied total on an 8-game slate. So.
Yeah, exactly. We've just got so many better options. If it was like a 4-game or something like that, maybe we could go there. They wouldn't be as big a dip. But I just think there's too much of a talent gap to go to that line. Did you see what Steve Valiquette said about Buffalo last week on the Rangers broadcast?
No.
He just absolutely trashed him, saying he came out and just talked about, they're pathetic, they're this or that. And I think the Buffalo players should be wearing ski masks on the 15th and the 30th of every month, because there's no way you can have that star power and not have any pushback. They look like they've quit on the season. The Rangers packed it in the third period, but they didn't even make an effort to get to it. I think they're very easy to play against. That's a dreadful hockey team. They should be embarrassed.
Wow. Not mincing words. All right. Interesting. So he was saying that the Sabres have all this talent?
I think he was probably talking about only Jack Eichel, maybe Hall.
Eichel, Hall, Reinhart, Olofsson. I mean, okay.
Well, Eichel's been a big rumor to come to the Rangers in a trade. That was kind of where the attachment came from, I think.
Okay. Interesting. Maybe they have an inspired performance tonight, these Sabres. I would guess probably not. But I think you're going to need some power plays for at least Caps 1 to get there, just because they haven't been amazing at 5-on-5 or even good. But again, I'm willing to overlook that. Carlson, 6,600. Not getting to him too much as a one-off. Looks like he's going to be pretty popular. So I'll probably have him in mostly Washington 1 stacks. Cliffy's mentioned a couple times Ovechkin's playing on both power plays. So you could go Kuznetsov, Vrana, and Ovechkin, or some trio like that if you wanted to differentiate a little bit. It's like Florida. There's a bunch of ways to attack this Caps team tonight if you don't want to eat all the ownership on that top line. And then I'll mention Jacob Bryson, 2,600, playing decent minutes. Looks like he's playing on Ristolainen's pairing tonight, and so probably going to play another 20, block some shots. He'll put some on net as well, and it's tough to find for that price. So I like him as one of the better punts on the night. Let's go to Montreal and Winnipeg, 2.9 implied total for the Canadiens, 2.8 for the Jets. Price, Hellebuck. Jets, not as chalky as I would have thought, but again, there's 8 games, so a lot of options to be had. Fully correlated, top power play. You're going to read off the numbers at 5-on-5. How good has Winnipeg 1 been so far?
Winnipeg 1, well, the Scheifele-Wheeler combination, let's put it that way, 621-24 going back to the start of last year, 49-29 Corsi for, 30-36 goals deficit. But then when we look at the full line with Druin up there, I'm sorry, not Druin, with Stasny up there, we've got a 98-minute and 12-second sample, 50.81 Corsi for, 5-2 goals scored advantage, which is 71.43. 55.91 expected goals for advantage, 23-21 high danger, and 4-0 high danger conversions. So pretty effective, pretty good line.
Yeah. They've been awesome since Stastny's come up there. So I've been a Jets hater, but mostly it stems from them not being good at even strength. Scheifele and Wheeler especially, but with Stastny, it's hard to argue with the numbers. Sometimes these combos just work. Like I don't think Stastny, he's not really great for DFS, but maybe playing wing, he's a little bit better. I'm not sure what's going on with them, but they've just it's just hard to argue with the numbers, almost 100-minute sample. So I don't have a problem with Winnipeg 1, especially if they're going to stick around the 10% range in our ownership projections. If they're going to get, 15, 20%, be one of the highest owned lines of the night, then maybe I'll cool off on them. But I'm on Winnipeg 1, at least for tonight. I don't mind the second line, but you're getting I really want pieces of that top power play. So I wish Ehlers was on the top power play, but he's currently not. 6,100 for him. So I'll mostly be sticking to Winnipeg 1. I don't know how the matchups are going to go again, but I would think a lot of teams have been treating the Suzuki line as the top line for Montreal. So I'm hoping Scheifele, Wheeler, Stas to go up against the Suzuki line, and then Toffoli and Gallagher get to go up against the other lines for the Jets. But I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Regardless, I think I'm going to play some Montreal 2. And Philip Deneau is a game time decision. So I did have some interest in Montreal 3.
Yep.
If he's out, you might get Paul Byron in there or something. That takes away from that line for me a little bit. So Montreal 3 was a third line I'm looking at. You're not going to know until after lock whether Deneau's in. Not that he should change your mind completely, but you're going to need to find a cheap center if you are targeting that line at all.
Yeah, and for me, that was, kind of specific around the Deneau and Tatar pairing, 939-minute sample, 60.96 Corsi for, 54 to 33 goals for advantage, 247 to 147 high danger chances for those guys. So like them as a pair, and if we get Deneau in there, then I say go for it.
Yep, I would agree there. Romanov is going to play a bunch. No Ben Sherratt. So Romanov moves up into the top 4. Joel Edmondson also going to play a decent amount for 2,700. They're not great. I'd probably rather play some Romanov one-offs at 3K than Edmondson, but Edmondson's another guy that'll block some shots. And when he's playing top pair, you know that he's at least going to be out there. On the Jet side, Pionk goes better with the second line. Morrissey goes better with the top line. So those guys are mostly just correlation plays for me tonight. I wouldn't hate playing some Pionk one-offs for 4,400 either.
Yeah, 51 is a little bit steep for that on FanDuel, but 44 on DK makes a lot more sense. Low owned on both sides, so you could get to them, but you're paying up a little bit to get to them to do that on FanDuel.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, let's go to Edmonton, Calgary. We've got about 6-7 minutes for these final 2 games. Flies by, right?
It really does. It's amazing.
Mike Smith and Jacob Markstrom are your goalies. 3 implied total for the Oilers, 3.1 for the Flames. It's a McDavid slate. Low ownership, but I don't really love the spot here. This is another one where I'm not exactly sure how Calgary is going to match. They've, for the most part, been going Lindholm, Tkachuk against opposing top competition. I would think they do that, but I also think there's a pretty good chance the Backlund line sees some time against McDavid, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto, and that's a line I am pretty worried about. Backlund line's been awesome at 5-on-5, and that's another third line I'm considering tonight. But are you on Calgary here? Are you on Edmonton? Is this a game that you're targeting heavily?
Yeah, look, I think we can always look to the top Edmonton lines, the top 2 lines on that team. They're kind of a natural. They're expensive. They're popular. We know basically what we're getting out of those lines. That top line, 57.56 Corsi for percentage, 10 to 3 goals advantage. I know we're running short on time. In 105 minutes, Yamamoto and Draisaitl together, 668 minutes, 49.23 Corsi for, 42 to 21 goals advantage though. So just dominant scoring lines. You can definitely get to them. You could go to the second line with Nugent Hopkins and Puljujärvi on there. The 2 of them as a duo, 209, 58, 55, 76 Corsi for, 9 to 11 goals deficit, nothing to really sweat, generate more high danger chances than they give up. I think the Flames side of things is definitely interesting. Really like the call on Flames 3. 106 minutes together, 60.32 Corsi for percentage, 5 to 3 goals advantage, which is a 62.5 actual against the 63.44 expected goals for percentage. 27 to 15 high danger chances converted on 3 of them, yielded 2 goals in those situations. And then I think you can go to the top unit there as well.
Yeah. And Calgary's pretty spread around. I mean, they've got 3 playable lines here for sure. Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm, Tkachuk, basically the same ownership if you compare the duos there. So it's hard for me to choose between the two. If I had to, it would probably be Monahan Gaudreau, just because I'm almost positive they're not going to see much time at all, if any time, against McDavid and Draisaitl. So that's always a plus. McDavid, Draisaitl, Yamamoto have been so good at 5-on-5. So if you want to play them, if you can afford them, by all means, lock them in. I'll never have any McDavid slander, at least not on this show. Maybe if he wrongs me in DFS, if I play him in the live final or something. But yeah, that's really all I've got here. Just wanted to make sure I mentioned Calgary 3. It sounds like you're on the same page there. Low ownership for them. Going to play good minutes, and might play a lot of minutes tonight if they end up matching McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, and it's just that kind of a line that it makes some sense that that's exactly how they're going to play it. So I expect to see them over their average ice time, and I like the opportunities they have too. That's could definitely turn around against that line for sure. So.
All right, before we get into the last game, just want to make sure I mention a couple of things. You can catch us on podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. We've got a promo going on all the time where if you leave a 5-star rating and review us, give us a nice positive review, you got a chance to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And that's a $90 value, by the way, for just a couple minutes of your time. Also want to give another shout out to our sponsor, JockMKT. If you want to get started over on JockMKT, which is fantasy sports into a stock exchange, Awesemo 20 is the exclusive offer for the Awesemo community. Again, Awesemo 20, that's a first deposit match up to $20. Pretty good deal there. So if you missed out on the deal last week, Awesemo 20 is how you get started over on JockMKT. Last game of the night, Sharks, Golden Knights. I said the Caps had the highest implied total. I lied. 2.6 implied total for the Sharks, 3.8 for the Golden Knights. Devin Dubnyk, Fleury for the Golden Knights. Chandler Stevenson, game time decision. If he doesn't play, it's going to be Cody Glass. So at least you can swap down. Now that's an $1,800 difference on DK. So maybe try to plan in advance, but this looks like Vegas night to me. What do you think, Terry?
Yeah, I think Vegas night is definitely a good way to put that. Top line definitely in play. Preferred if you get Stevenson, obviously, 459.24 for that line together, 59.6% Corsi for, 42 to 14 goals for advantage. It would be a 66.25 expected goals for percentage, 112 to 53 in high danger chances. Just dominant line. Second line totally in play as well, 56.83 Corsi for, 33 to 28 goals for advantage with a higher expected goals for percentage. So just two excellent lines there. They're going to dominate this San Jose team. On the San Jose side, I think you could definitely go to San Jose 1. Could probably work some San Jose 2 in there as well. They're not terrible. They're good lines, but they're going up against a very good defensive team.
Yeah, I think I'm probably off San Jose 1 here, just because I think they're going to get Pacioretty and Stone. That's not a matchup I want to mess with on a big slate. But on the other side, Pacioretty and Stone, it's not like an elite 5-on-5 spot for them if they're going to go up against Couture, Kane, and LeBanc all game. They are an amazing line, so I don't really care that much. But I'm probably avoiding San Jose 1. Love everything about Vegas tonight. Everybody knows I'm always on them. If you look at my exposures every night on lineup study, I play a bunch of them whenever the spot's even okay. And they are Vegas 1 right now, my second highest on stack. Vegas 2 about my fourth. So tonight is no different. I'll be slamming them in MME and hoping for the late night hammer along with everyone else. Shea Theodore, we got projected at very low ownership. He's my highest owned guy right now on the slate. So I'm all over him as well. You can play him with either line, I think, with Carlson moving up to the top power play. Anything else before we get out of here?
Theodore's an excellent call there. That's super low ownership for him. You're paying up to get there, but totally worth it. I like that a lot.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks to producer Chris for producing a nice show here. And go check out JockMKT. Give us a like and a subscribe on your way out. Good luck tonight, everybody. We'll catch you back here tomorrow.
Soundstripe.